Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I will be reviewing the first book in the Star Trek Legacies trilogy, Captain to Captain. This is the first book of the Legacies trilogy, which was the 50th anniversary trilogy released in 2016, celebrating 50 years of Star Trek. And the second book is called Best Defense. It was written by David Mack, and the third book is called Purgatory's Key. It was written by Dayton Ward and Kevin Dillmore. I'll be reviewing the later two books as I get to them. As of right now, as I'm recording this, I've only read the first book, and so I will provide my review, my spoiler-free review here. What makes this book interesting is its focus. This is not a book focusing on Kirk, Spock, and McCoy and the regular crew of the Starship Enterprise as we know it. Instead, this book follows the characters of Robert April's stewardship of the Starship Enterprise, specifically Number One, also known as Una. As a result, the main part of this story, which is the first portion of the book and the last portion of the book, takes place in the modern time of Star Trek, during the time of the original series. But the middle portion of the book is one large flashback that occurs 18 years earlier, back when Robert April was the captain of the ship and Una was one of his lieutenants. And so, because so much of the book, almost 50% of the book's pages were devoted to that flashback, it really created a unique sense of storytelling that I think worked really well for this book. Part of the reason I think this worked so well is because we had been introduced to Una and some of these other characters during the failed pilot for Star Trek, The Cage, and at the same time, the reason that I think this works is because it also focuses on the TOS characters. And I would not be surprised if in the later books they have other ties to that original pilot, because this is supposed to be celebrating 50 years, specifically looking at that first year of storytelling. And so, to focus on Una, I think she's a fascinating character. Spock has utmost respect for Una in a way that I've never seen Spock have respect for another character. That automatically made me intrigued by her. The other thing that made this fun is the first portion of this book is very much a familiar Star Trek story. Some crew member steals something, and our heroes have to go and find out why they've stolen it and where they're going and chase after them. It's a very tried and true story. Then the middle portion, which is the flashback, explains why Una steals what she steals in the book. And that story was lots of fun. Introduces the planet Libros 3, introduces the characters of the Usilders, and also the newcomers, I'll call them. They have another name in the book, but I don't want to spoil that. The newcomers were a fascinating species, fascinating characters. I did not like the way that they used pronouns and nouns for these characters. They were very difficult to follow at points, but other than that, they themselves, the militancy that they produced was excellently written. There was huge tension in this book. Because it focuses on characters that I'm not familiar with, I knew Una would survive the flashback, but I did not know what would happen to the other characters. As a result, I was on the edge of my seat. I was genuinely concerned about what would happen to everyone, and that is a good thing for a tie-in author to do when you know logically some of your characters are safe, but you still feel an emotional connection to them that makes you wonder if they're safe. Greg Cox did a very good job on that regard. And just telling a good story, this book nails every aspect. There were a few moments of predictability because there were things that natural storytelling follows. There was a certain character who shows up at one point, and I instantly knew when they would show up again. It just made complete logical sense. And so I think that, that shows that Greg Cox is a fairly good storyteller. I picked up on it. Some people may not. Some other people will. So I'd be interested to hear if you did, if you've read this book. So that is one aspect. Then you have another aspect of the writing, which was that it created not just tension, but emotion. There were several scenes where I felt for the characters. I laughed at a humorous situation, or I just felt so bad for them for what was happening to them. It was just so well crafted in that regard. I will say that there are some Star Trek books that have deeper themes. I'm thinking books like Rogue Elements, Die Standing, The Last Best Hope, and the books from the Fall. Those books have really deeper meanings that go beyond just the immediate story we're seeing, but have true questions about our reality, questions about how we deal with culture and society. This book had some of that, specifically regarding pollution, but other than that, it did not have the sense of deeper meaning that I think more modern Star Trek books tend to have. This is a much more straightforward, fun story. The difference is it does have a big twist, which I will not spoil because it's great. It does have a big twist, and the writing itself, the dialogue, the description, the pacing, the plot, everything feels more mature than some of the older Star Trek novels for the original series that I've read. But not quite up to the same level of what I would consider to be the high point of TOS writing, which for me, so far, I haven't read too many TOS books, but the height of TOS for me is Greg Cox's other book, which was the Antares Maelstrom, which was the kind of Gold Rush book, if you think about it. And so this book, if you want just another adventure with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy and the crew, this isn't really that. They might show up in the future. Of the trilogy more. They may take a more prominent role. I'm not sure. But in this book, this is definitely Una's book. And it is very good. And as someone who knows next to nothing about Una going into this book, I felt that Greg Cox did an excellent job providing me with all the information I needed, and also a good job of providing me with enough information that it made me want to read other books with her or go back and watch The Cage. And so he did a very good job of tie-in in that regard. So overall, I am very positive. I am bullish on this book. I think that Greg Cox turned in a very fun book that has me on the edge of my seat, and I must read book 2, which that review will be coming very, very, very soon. Keep a lookout for that in the next couple days. But if I have to rank this, or rate it, I should say, I would give it an 8.0 out of 10. Very solid, well done, few minor issues, but they were very minor in the scope of things. And it has me utterly excited for the future. So if you've read this book, let me know what your thoughts on it were. Please leave comments down below. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell and follow the future of my channel. I have lots of Star Trek content coming out, and lots of Star Trek content that's already come out that you can see in my backlog. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.